Colorado Business Roundtable presents the first annual Collaboration in Industry Awards, featuring great speakers and Colorado's best collaborators in business. With a business roundtable update from Jackie Hinman, CEO of CH2M, Colorado Governor John Hickenlooper.
Don't worry, Jeff and I trade clothes all the time. Hi everyone, I'm Joe Rice with Lockheed Martin Space Systems. Lockheed Martin builds things here in Colorado that you use every day, like, and Rudolph uses every day, like GPS satellites, weather satellites, and exploration spacecraft that explore our universe, answer questions about our world, and of course lead to amazing technological discoveries that benefit life here on Earth. And we are, as many of you may know, or many of you may not know, because it's still a secret, as much as we're trying to get out there and get the word out, is that Colorado is a top aerospace state. And thanks to COBRT, and very directly thanks to Governor Hickenlooper, I am actually very pleased to announce that just this week, we found out that Colorado is now the #1 aerospace state in the country in terms of per capita employment. Colorado is #1. Matter of fact, I would like, Governor, before you leave office, that we hope we can get you and your family and any of your staff and friends to come down to a rocket launch. We have a weather satellite that's launching out of Florida on March 1st, and all of you are invited if the governor comes. And Governor Berry says, we know your schedule is busy. We'd love to have you come and see kind of the visual representation of Colorado aerospace as we launch a weather satellite. Certainly understand your schedule. If that doesn't work, we'll still let them come, so we don't want to put too much pressure on you. It is now my honor to introduce Governor John Hickenlooper. Governor Hickenlooper is a geologist and entrepreneur who recently added author to his resume with the publication of his memoir, The Opposite of Whoa, My Life in Beer and Politics. Since taking office in 2011, the governor and his team have endeavored to make Colorado the most pro-business state with the highest environmental and ethical standards. Please help me welcome to the stage the Honorable Governor John Hickenlooper.
I guess that's the best introduction I'll ever have. I'm talking about the Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer part. Joe, your introduction as well, and certainly many of you know how competitive governors are, and to be the #1 state. We've been working very hard. You know, many of you don't know that we convene roughly, just about every quarter, out of my office I convene a phone call where we talk to all our congressional representatives, so our 7 congressional individuals in the House of Representatives and our 2 senators, Republicans and Democrats, and the first part of every one of those quarterly discussions is, all right, what's on the menu in terms of aerospace? How could we be more supportive? What are the most important issues in Congress that have to do with our growth and expansion of our already large footprint in aerospace? So glad to hear. I can't think of it. We don't have one until the beginning of January, but I will look forward to sharing that news. You'll probably have already told them by then. Anyway, congratulations to you. You guys are such a big part. One thing a lot of people don't know about Lockheed is they are a pure member of the community. And so when we start, I'm going to talk here a little bit about apprenticeships and things like that. They are a first adopter of pretty much everything that is good for the community. And they are an agile partner with smaller aerospace companies in the ecosystem, and they recognize that big companies also need healthy small companies, and they do a lot to maintain the health of that ecosystem. So thank you very much for that. I'm going to try and keep it a little short today just because the main menu, I would refer to myself as an appetizer if this were to be a metaphor for a meal. And Jim Clifton, who you're going to hear in a little bit, I think is one of the most, he looks at things from a different point of view than the way most people see things. And I think uncovers puts together facts in a different way, creates a different context by which suddenly you begin to understand the economy in a way that, at least for me, economists never successfully satisfied me. I'm not saying that in any way to diminish economists. I know this room is probably full with economists. I think I'm on thin ice. But I think you're in for a treat. And he doesn't like to be, not unlike myself, he says he succeeds on diminished expectations, right? He doesn't want people to be too high, the expectations, but I say nonsense. We're the second lowest unemployment in the country right now. In terms of the rate of growth of GDP, expansion of our economy, we're in the top 5 in pretty much everything. And I think that's a classic time when traditionally governors who are in their last year, and I have my little, where'd I put my hand held? Oh, it's on the table. But my calendar, I know right now that I've got 399 days left in this term, in this administration. And trust me, every one of my cabinet members, everybody's got that calendar. We know how much we've got to do. Because the moment you begin to rest on your laurels and say, well, we're in the top 5, we're number 1 in this, we're number 1 in aerospace, we're number 2 in this, that's when you begin to lose your edge and bad things begin to happen. And I think our goal has from the beginning been looking at, when I first got elected, excuse me, in 2010, and then in 2011 took office, we went around the state to all 64 counties and asked the counties, business leaders, elected officials, everybody, what do you want your economy to look like in 10 years, 25 years, and 50 years? And that informed, and we ended up with a framework, but that informed this framework of 6 key functions that they expected from us. One, they wanted the governor to come in and make the state pro-business and talk about it. They wanted the governor to come in and get rid of the red tape and bureaucracy. They wanted to have the governor really address issues around workforce and training, so that the workers that were coming through the pipeline were trained and competent to do the jobs that were evolving and coming out of the economy. They wanted us to stress innovation and technology, and really that's why we started the Colorado Innovation Network, COIN. I know many of you in this room have been involved in COIN. They wanted to talk about the state and market the state not as a destination for tourists, but as a destination for entrepreneurs. And I think we were the first state, or one of the first states in the country, to start doing some portion of our tourism advertising, which is, traditionally in very successful states where there are a lot of people that have disposable income and might come for a long vacation in Colorado. Those are the same markets where you have young would-be entrepreneurs thinking about where they want to start their business, or maybe a small business that's already started and where maybe they want to move to a place that would be more hospitable. And that framework of those kind of core values we pushed as hard as we could. The last one, the 6th one was try to improve and increase the access to capital. We've taken those, and I think the proof is in the pudding. Along the Front Range, we're doing great. Even in Grand Junction and the West Slope, we're beginning to see the results. We're seeing not only more job creation, but we're beginning to see some wage appreciation as well, which I realize for many of the business people, you always get nervous about wage appreciation, but that is also part of a healthy system, and we should recognize that. I want to take a little bit of time today just talking about the workforce stuff, because I think that's probably one of our greatest vulnerabilities, and I think one of the country's real vulnerabilities right now. We're going to see in the next 5 or 10 years, thousands and thousands, tens of thousands of jobs, hundreds of thousands of jobs go away, right? And it's not just the job that's going to go away, it's the whole profession. I know I was in a time, I came out here as a geologist. I'm the only elected governor in the history of America that was a professional, at one time a professional working geologist. I don't know what that says about geologists, but it's probably not a good thing. In 1983 and 84, when the price of oil collapsed, 85 was really in the pits in this state and throughout the oil and gas industry. 86, our company got sold, everyone got laid off, and everybody was laying people off, and everyone was selling their companies, and there were no jobs. My profession essentially disappeared. That's how I ended up in the beer business. Some would say a bad thing, some would say a good thing. For me, it was probably the luckiest thing that ever happened in my life to go through that process of being out of work for 2 years. And it is, after about 6 months, you see a different person in the mirror. When you look back, you don't have the same confidence. You don't feel the same way about your skills and your strengths. And you have to everybody gets through that individually. For me, I was lucky, I had very strong family support. And I had some friends that were enthusiastic. We decided we wanted to start a brew pub, a restaurant that brews its own beer. At that point, it was very hard. As any of you entrepreneurs know, if you're trying to raise money for a project that has real potential, generally that's because it doesn't exist, right? And so you're trying to tell people to imagine something they've never seen before or read about or really experienced. That's a tough sell, and I wasn't that good at it. It took me 2 years. As a matter of fact, I never did get my mother to invest. She kept saying, who wants to have dinner in a brewery, right? I said, no, Mom, it's like a bakery. Beer is food. It was a tough sell. Anyway, I think what we're seeing now is just like I lost my job and went through that reinvention. There are going to be hundreds of thousands, millions of people that are going to go through that and have been going through it. Automation is going to, as we look at, just go down the list from autonomous vehicles to the application of robots to the transformations of assembly lines. The whole world's going to change, and yet I am absolutely convinced that we're going to be creating as many jobs as we're going to lose. And we've tried to really modernize the technology in the state capital, and we've put in all kinds of new integrated software systems. And each time I go to my senior managers and I ask them, so how many jobs are we going to eliminate? And we don't have to lay anyone off. Baby boomers are retiring, so we don't have to lay people off. And pretty much every time they say, well, we're going to have a little job savings, like 1 or 2, but that's it. And I think that's what we're doing is we're creating through technology the capacity to do more. And in our context of the state, to provide more services and to understand more completely what it is we can deliver. And I think that is, in different ways, is part of the transformation in the business community. So what's that mean? What's going to happen in terms of the workforce? We're still going to need the same number of workers. We're going to need more workers. They're just going to need completely different skills. And so 2 programs we're working on here in Colorado that I'll talk a little bit about. One is CareerWise, and I know there are several of you that are working on this, but hopefully in the next couple of years, you'll all reach out. If you've got employees, we want to make sure you know about this, because it's a blending of the Swiss apprenticeship system and the Swedish system. So unlike the German system, we're not telling kids when they're 15 or 12, or you've got to be this or you've got to be that. But we are offering, we're in our second year of pilots, offering kids the opportunity to decide if they want, when they're 17 years old, instead of continuing as a junior in high school, they can go get a job. They can work in a bank, insurance company, advanced manufacturing, and they go to work for 3 days, and then for 2 days they go to a workforce training center or a community college, and they study a curriculum that is designed by the industry in which they're working. And in conjunction, now we've got to make sure that they learn everything they need to qualify for a high school degree. At the end of their apprenticeship, they'll get a high school degree, but they'll also have almost a year's worth of college credits. And since most of them live at home, we think they're going to end up, we're measuring this with our pilots, we think they're going to end up with $10,000, $15,000 saved in the bank instead of having debt. And so far, and then this year we're doing about 260 kids in the pilots. Next year we're hoping to get to several thousand. Our goal is in the first 10 years to get to 20,000 kids a year. But businesses love this. They look at it as a wonderful way to get young talent before they get into the bad habits, show them what it's like to work in a place, what the expectations are, right? You show up on time, you treat your boss with respect, you treat your peers with respect, and kids love it. It's amazing. People don't recognize, more than 2/3 of the kids in this country are never going to go to 4-year college. And that's been true for more than 30 years, and we've done nothing but make a lot of them feel like they're not good enough. And we haven't given them a chance to really be part of the American dream. CareerWise is going to be the first step in allowing that to happen. So stay tuned to that, and as we begin we're going to be looking for more businesses to place more of these kids in the next year and then the year after that. And again, so far, every business I've talked to has been thrilled about it, and all the kids that we've talked about, this year so far with 260 kids, we don't have any washouts. We haven't had any problems. Most of them look at, instead of sitting bored in high school, being taught something that has no application to their lives, this is really giving them a chance to engage and learn and learn things that will help them in their job. The second thing is Skillful. Beth Coburg is here. She is our kind of CEO of this program. And Skillful is a combination. It's a skills-based platform. It's formed in partnership between the Markle Foundation and LinkedIn. And LinkedIn has now been acquired by Microsoft. But it allows us to contemplate what are the skills that people acquire throughout their lives. So while they're an apprentice or when they're starting out, but also as they go through life, where do they learn things? What do they learn? How do we measure those competencies? And how do we keep track of that? And a crucial part that Skillful's really unlocked is the importance of counselors. And we already have literally hundreds and really thousands of counselors all throughout different strata of our society. But we haven't done a very good job of really instructing them how to be successful and how to use technology to really expand the number of individuals they can impact. And that's a big part of what Skillful is working on. We got I can't remember what we called it, the Governor's Coaching Corps, which are 200 they're going to be the best counselors you've ever dreamed of. But this is, again, a pilot to see how big a difference you can get with that coaching. But down the road, and Microsoft just announced that they have given us roughly 25.8 rough justice. Rough justice, $25 million grant, the largest grant the Microsoft Foundation's ever given to continue this work of Skillful. And I always hold the example of this is way down the road. Beth and Skillful always get nervous when I create the vision of the future. Although the Microsoft people don't get nervous, they're leaning in. But you look at, and the example I use is you look at bank tellers. And right now, banks all over the state are using robots for the functions of bank tellers, right? You drive into a drive-through, and that's oftentimes that voice you hear is not a person's voice; it's a robot's voice. So what are the skills? And Skillful tries to imagine a place where you can accumulate all your skills through your life. They're on your profile, on your website, and Skillful ultimately will allow you to look at, well, if I want to switch professions, what other professions could utilize the skills I already have? What skills would I be missing? And where would I have to get them? And what would it cost? So for a bank teller, what are the skills that a bank teller needs? A bank teller needs to be numerate, good with numbers. They have to be precise, have a sense of urgency. They've got to be collaborative, understand something about security. Well, right now in this state, we're a center for cybersecurity, right? We've got all the retired military people out of Northcom. We're either first, second, third in terms of cybersecurity on a per capita basis. We have 9,000 jobs, cybersecurity jobs, right now. And, some of them are part-time. They tell me that 2/3 are probably full-time jobs. They don't, of those, half don't need college degrees. They're technician-type jobs, but they do need certain skills. What are the skills they need? Well, they need to be numerate, have to have a high sense of precision. They've got to be collaborative. They've got to have a sense of urgency. They've got to understand something about security, right? Now, it's not to say that all bank tellers could go and work in cybersecurity, and any bank teller would almost certainly have to take a 6-month class in coding, and not just so they could write code, but really so they could understand and be fluent with the language and the intentions. But many, many bank tellers could transfer rapidly from one profession into a next, probably get a raise, still have a company that pays them benefits and health insurance and whatever. It allows us to at least imagine down the road a system where at scale, as whole professions disappear, through technology we can help move large numbers of people into new professions. And I am very grateful for Beth to come here and help us take this to scale. Again, right now it's at a rudimentary phase, but it has the potential, and I think a really great potential, to deal with some of the creative destruction that we know we're going to have in this economy, the loss of jobs through automation. The last thing I want to talk about a little bit is when you look at manufacturing in this country and in this state, in Colorado we have roughly 6,000 manufacturers in a variety of sectors. So we've got aerospace, as we said, we've got electronics, biomedical, food and beverage is a big one these days in terms of how rapidly it's growing. The average annual wage for manufacturers in Colorado is 43% higher than if you average all the other industries together. And I was up in Greeley this morning looking at rice honeys, no relationship, I don't think. But this is a company that's 93 years old, be 94 years old in a few months. They've now had a 25-year partnership with Walmart, and they were celebrating that Walmart's going to commit to an additional $250 billion this year spent buying products that are created, manufactured, processed, put together in the United States. And I think that kind of momentum, and certainly in Colorado, it's a big deal. When you compare and I was asking these young kids what they're getting paid, and they're all getting paid. I mean, 15 bucks an hour was the lowest one I talked to. I asked a half dozen, right up to 24 bucks an hour. 24 bucks, and I only talked to a half dozen, so I'm sure there are others that are making, supervisors and such making even more money. These are good paying jobs, manufacturing jobs, and they're going to change. The key is that we're going to have to make sure that we keep our foot on the pedal in terms of maintaining our investments in people's ability to learn skills. As this 21st century economy continues to diversify, and it's more and more going to depend on our ability as a community to foster innovation and to find new ideas like skillful, to look at innovation as a state of mind that we accept, we don't find it threatening. Again, it's always good to be thoughtful and cautious. I'm not suggesting we be reckless, but we want to accept innovation as a regular part of our natural landscape, and we want to, in that process, support entrepreneurs, right? Entrepreneurs, we don't have enough of them, and I'm sure Jim is going to talk to you about the dearth of startups right now. And over the last few years, as we look at it in Colorado, we're seeing the same thing they're seeing around the country. We've gone through now, our Office of Regulatory Affairs, we've gone through all 23,600 rules and regulations in the state of Colorado. And almost half of them we've either eliminated or dramatically simplified. And I think that's going to play a role in helping us, encourage and create an environment where young people think it's a good idea. It's worth the risk to start their own business. Most of the best entrepreneurs are already successful at some other job. And we've got to make sure that we as a community are encouraging and saying, this is a cool thing. This is special. This is something that we look up to as doing. And if we're able to support entrepreneurs, we'll also attract investments. And that was a big part of what COIN, the Colorado Innovation Network, has worked on for the last 6 years. And I think government's not very good at doing a lot of things. I know the moment I leave, you're all going to have your jokes about state government. Got it. But ultimately, what we've worked very hard on, and we have lean systems. We've now gone through 250 different lean process improvement systems in state government, because ultimately we've got to get you guys to believe in government again. And we've got to be reliable. When we screw up, we've got to explain, here's what we did wrong, here's how we're going to fix it, and here's why we're not going to do it again. Because if we don't believe in our government, then we don't believe in ourselves. And then we're never going to be able to convince entrepreneurs and people to take the risks that are really going to drive this economy in the future. So appreciate you all being here. Appreciate you being part of the team. As the governor of Colorado, I do have the authority to hereby, deputize each and every one of you in the pursuit of workforce improvement and the encouragement of entrepreneurs. I can even deputize people from Nebraska. Anyway, the last thing I'll finish with, just 1 minute. The importance that we do, a number of you are involved in the Biennial of the Americas, which we do every 2 years. It's to emphasize this hemisphere. This country's always looked to Europe for our cultural touch points, always looks to China, India, the Middle East and the Far East. Our hemisphere is such a great trading partner, and now more than ever, we have to realize the importance of trade and exports. It creates wealth. I'm not saying that we shouldn't be improving our trade deals. I'm not making a political speech, but we want to and should have to, all of us, put our shoulder towards making sure people understand that trade is a good thing for us. We can make sure it's more equitable. We can certainly make sure people don't get left behind. But a lot of the stuff we've worked on, like the Biennial of the Americas, is important for that trade, and hopefully we can get more and more of you involved in that as well. So anyway, thank you. I'm glad you're all happily deputized. No.
So my friend Jeff Wasden has given me the opportunity today to express how much I think of Governor Hickenlooper. And I shouldn't be making public speeches. You can see why. But you were talking a little bit about, what happened from 85 to 89. This town almost died. Before that, there were cranes all over the city. I think it was Time Magazine showed all these cranes. It's called Rocky Mountain High, and they showed all the activity that was going on around here. And then about a week later, everything went to hell. And so there was 4 years where it was really, really, really miserable. And what did the founders and the city leaders of Denver do is they all buckled down, and instead of giving up, they made it really, really tough. So it's some people like Federico Pena, I think was one of them, Jerry McMorris. Somebody asked Jerry McMorris for $150,000 or $15,000. He gave him $15 million because he didn't hear it right. So there's all kinds of great stories that go on here. So we're in a situation right now where we have done very, very, very well with those people, and then in particular John Hickenlooper and the collaboration that he built after that. So the city of Denver, greatest city, it's a good city. God, I wish I wouldn't do this. And we all benefit from that. And then he comes in as governor, and now we have all benefited from what he's done collaboratively with many, many people there. And now he's working with Jim. I'm sorry that I pointed before. My daughter told me that was rude and creepy, so I won't do that anymore. But Jim, the work that you're doing with Governor and all the other governors to not only help Colorado, but to go build the region is what we have to do. How do we keep working together? And we're hoping, John, that you have some other ideas. Perhaps you can help us and help some other people. So we look at things at the round table. It's what's called a soga shosha. It's a Japanese trading company. It ends up being different concentric rings, and it ends up being different verticals. And today at this function, we're going to be representing 12 different verticals, so we're starting to fill in the dots. So what we've done here, and Jim, I really liked what you wrote in your book to the girl at United, F4 was it? And so, it starts with family, and then it starts with business. Well, we're representing business today. What can we all do working together? What can we do between the companies? And then it kind of goes up from there. The work that John was doing, the work that John's going to be doing, and then we have the other point of view, which is the worldview that Jim Clifton has. How do you take everything that's going on, looking at the big picture, and start putting these pieces together? So I'm hoping that whenever these people ask for help, be it governor or be it Jim Clifton, that everybody here in the room realize that we have some of the very best leaders in the world standing here today honoring us, and let's see what we can do to help them. John, you're a hell of a guy, and congratulations. This was created by the Community College of Denver, so my friend Everett Freeman, and I believe Matthew Sweeney is the person that worked with all these kids, and there was a real sense of pride in building something. So that was not made in some other country. It was made about 3 miles from here on the southwest corner of the Mousetrap. Is that right? And it is an absolutely incredible facility, and if anybody needs some support in manufacturing or some training in manufacturing, please see Matthew and please see Everett. John, congratulations.